All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us on another episode of The Three Admirals. As always, we're brought to you by House of Otaku. If you guys have any anime needs, posters, stickers, we got these cool lights. Check them out on Instagram or just go to houseofotaku.com. And without further ado, as always, it's your boy, Jerome. I'm joined by Kevin and Josh. Say what's up, boys.
What's going on, guys? How you guys doing?
What's going on, guys? Another episode. Excited to record.
All right. And if you guys like the video, don't be afraid to like the video, comment, subscribe. But today we got an interesting episode. This one's going to be mostly Josh. He's got a really interesting character to talk about. And that character is going to be Caribou. Where's he been? What's he been up to? What are his motives? Josh, why don't you get us started?
Yes.
Thanks, Jerome. That was an amazing intro as always, guys. I'm stuck on this. I think Caribou is an extremely not important but interesting character. I kind of like what Oda has done, and I do have some theories that I think could actually play out. I know it's really hard to predict Oda, but I still think that it's there. It's in the writing. So let's get into it, guys. If there's anything that I say that you want to get a Jerome or Foodie, if you guys kind of want to interrupt me or ask me anything, go ahead. So that being said, Caribou is an interesting character in the sense where he's kind of the new supernova. He had a pretty, at the time, his bounty was pretty respectable, but there's something that's super interesting about him is that Caribou seems to want to follow strong pirates. If you notice that he was so quick to go under the fake Straw Hats. I can't remember this guy's name, but and even in Wano, when Luffy was in prison, he asked Luffy if he can leave with him. So Caribou seems to be someone who wants to follow under a strong captain, and I really think that him being under a fake Luffy is kind of symbolizes that he's eventually going to be helping Blackbeard in a way. And when I say that is because Caribou is one of the only characters outside of Nico Robin and the Straw Hats and King Neptune that knows that Shirahoshi is Poseidon. And recently, Oda has brought in the ancient weapons into the front of the story, finally, where Kaido and Big Mom, they have joined forces in a way to collect the ancient weapons and take over the world. So I feel like Kaido is not leaving Wano. So he's not going to have a play in that. And I feel as though the ancient weapons are kind of something that's more so reserved for the clan of D. So I think that it's going to be Luffy and Blackbeard. They're going in some way, they're going to be the two major players at the very end of One Piece going for Laugh Tale and the One Piece. We already know. Go ahead.
Okay, Josh. You're throwing a lot, but it makes sense.
Okay.
But how does Caribou help in any way the research of ancient weapons, or are you going to get to that?
Absolutely, that's a great point. So if you noticed, I believe it's chapter 652. I think it's even page 10. I'll throw the chapter in on for the video for all the fans as well. He heard something very interesting. Of course, that is the Poseidon's identity is Shirahoshi, and he says that he wants to tell this information to you-know-who. And Oda makes that very ambiguous. He doesn't want to tell us who Caribou wants to tell us information to. So who do you guys think is someone who could use that information? Off the top of your head, who do you think he wants to tell?
Like a strong pirate, something.
And at this point in the series, what strong pirate do you think he's going to tell?
I used to think maybe Big Mom, and one of the reasons I thought possibly Big Mom is because she's known for having a network of information, but I don't see Big Mom being endgame. I don't actually see Big Mom and Kaido getting their hands on an ancient weapon, so I'm definitely leaning more now towards Blackbeard.
And I feel like that's just the whole thing. And even if you guys go back and read that, Blackbeard is reintroduced into the new world as one of the new emperors just when Caribou finds out about Shirahoshi, and then he wants to tell you-know-who. I really think Oda was really subtle about it, but I think it's just a great way to get Luffy and Blackbeard back into the clashing heads, and I think Caribou is just that perfect person to do so. Not only that, Caribou is still on Wano, but he's not where everyone else is. Where is he?
Yeah.
No one knows where he is. And I mean, a lot of people are theorizing that Blackbeard is going to come to Wano at some point. So think about it. Just how crazy would that be for someone who knows about the ancient weapon to just give that information to Blackbeard? That really does seem like something that Blackbeard would just have. Like it's just he seems to be very lucky, kind of like Luffy in a sense, and he is Luffy's foil. So at this point, I really do think Blackbeard is kind of that guy, and Caribou is a segue into that. Um, and another thing for me, to be honest, is I also do believe that the blueprints. Let's just go over to Frankie for a quick moment. He has a blueprint, and the whole point of the blueprint is basically to create another Pluton in the event that the original is reactivated. And so I feel like if there was going to be that, it would make sense for Luffy and Blackbeard to kind of have that ancient weapon battle or whatever it takes to get to Laugh Tale and get the One Piece. So I really feel like Caribou is super important in that aspect. What do you guys think?
So wait, just to kind of sum up a little bit, Josh. So you think Caribou is important to the story, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but you say Caribou is important to the story because he holds key information for the ancient weapons. And you're saying that key in one of the few characters that he does, and you're saying he could either use that information to give to Blackbeard or use that information and kind of support the Straw Hats? Or are you saying the other way?
No. I think it all dates back to him using that information to give to you know who. Oda
Okay.
went out of his way to basically tell us that Caribou was wanting to give that information to a certain pirate. And if it was Kaido, I'm sure he would have already given that information to Kaido because he was captured by Drake way before the Straw Hats even got there. And Kaido still doesn't know about Shirahoshi being the Poseidon. Again, Kaido's not leaving Wano. He is going to lose this arc. And so who else is Caribou going to tell?
So, okay. So you're saying the only reason why Caribou wants to even partner up with Luffy is because of his intention to, because he mentioned he wanted to partner up with Luffy in the prison. It's because of his intention to pass on more information or that information to Blackbeard, right?
Not necessarily. So the whole
Okay.
point of Caribou and Luffy, I was kind of show you that Caribou is a type of pirate that seems to defer to big name pirates. At the very beginning of the New World, you see that he had willingly signed up with Straw Hat Luffy, which ended up being a fake, right? So I
Yeah.
feel like that's Oda's way of showing us that Caribou is just a pirate that would defer to a great pirate in a sense. But he wants to join Luffy because he wants to get out of Wano. That has nothing to do with the whole what he knows about Poseidon and whatnot. But basically,
Okay.
what I'm trying to say is that his whole purpose, I believe, at this point, is to give that information to Blackbeard and get him like in Luffy's sight because Shirahoshi and Luffy, of course, Fishman Island is now Luffy's territory. This is just a good way for Luffy and Blackbeard to kind of butt heads once again.
Okay. I got it. I got it. Josh, Jerome, go ahead. Did you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just on board with the whole thing. I feel like it might come down to maybe a race for Shirahoshi, like you had mentioned how the plans for Pluton, Frankie knows them, but that's if the original goes down. So right there, Oda's setting the tables for both Luffy and Blackbeard to obtain an ancient weapon, which is super interesting. Um, but then there's only one Shirahoshi, right? So it makes sense for, I mean, unless you guys see Kaido and Big Mom getting the ancient weapons, I personally don't. Um, but unless you see them as the next best people to take Caribou's plans, I think it has to be Blackbeard, and it's really setting the table for that.
Now, I'm looking at this. This makes a lot of sense. But my skepticism, and for the people that also might be skeptic on this, think you're crazy. Luffy did an assessment on Caribou. And it's really interesting when he did his assessment. Because the first time was, I think, on Fishman Island when Caribou was kind of stuck or whatever, or was trapped, or he wasn't in a good alliance. And he asked Luffy to join his crew, and Luffy told him flat out no, because he knew he was deceitful. Am I right on that, Josh?
I I vaguely remember this, but I will be honest. Luffy does seem to have. He is more trusting of Caribou now.
Exactly.
which I agree
And
with. Yeah.
so Luffy has a very weird observation hockey. Before having advanced observation hockey, his hockey was more in sensing people and looking at them. So he looked at Caribou in Udon, and when he asked for Caribou asked to join him, Luffy did that Luffy assessment and said, "Yeah, sure, you can help us." So to say that Caribou would betray the Straw Hats, wouldn't that kind of go against Luffy's sense?
I think it's a bigger stretch to assume Luffy's senses are at that point than it is to assume Caribou's going to give the information to Blackbeard.
But when
I
has
mean,
Luffy's sense ever been wrong?
but it's not on all the time. Like, I mean, that's seeing like so far ahead. Like, he doesn't even know
Okay,
that. How would he know that Caribou knows that?
okay.
Nobody knows that Caribou knows that.
And
That would be
also,
my counter argument to that.
no, it's a great good point. I mean, Luffy does seem trusting of Caribou, and for him to just kind of betray Luffy does kind of go against him being able to feel the emotions of people, kind of what Rayleigh had said during the Katakuri fight. But as Jerome said, I mean, he has no idea that Caribou knows that or is wanting to give that information to someone. And also in Impel Down, I know this is Luffy might have become stronger or whatever, but he was super trusting of Buggy throughout the entire time, and Buggy wanted nothing to do with Luffy. He was actually trying to betray Luffy the entire time. It just ended
Okay.
up that they both left together. So I mean, that was all comedy and stuff like that, but for sure. And you never know, man. Blackbeard can probably even punk Caribou into telling him. Who knows, man? But like,
Yeah, that's
Also,
true.
I think,
That's true.
did Luffy and Kanjuro see each other? I believe they did at
oh,
some point, right?
that's true. Yeah,
And that's a massive trader who, like, I
that's
mean,
true.
Kanjuro was probably sweating at some points, but I feel like that'd be something easier to see rather than Caribou's little piece of information. I also just feel like Caribou's trying to survive. Like, he seems like that type of character who's going to latch on to, like you said, Josh, whoever's powerful,
Hmm.
and part of that instinct is just going with whoever takes them. Um, so yeah, I think Luffy's
Hmm.
senses aren't at that level.
And one final thing here is that Luffy had originally declined Caribou and actually told Caribou to go join up with Kid instead. And Caribou's answer was, I don't want to mess with Kid because he lost. He got beat up by Big Mom or he got beat up. So Caribou's not really trying to go with any losers per se. You know, he wants like the real deal. And I really do think like, okay, if he's not going to go with Luffy, the next best thing is Blackbeard. That's like yin and yang kind of a thing, right? Like that's Luffy's foil. But anyways, that's food for thought. Just throwing out some content. Caribou to me is just interesting character who has interesting ability and has interesting information. So
I do have one question for you, Josh. Do you think that he joins Blackbeard's crew, or do you think Blackbeard just straight up uses him, maybe
Yeah.
steals his devil fruit? Where do you see his interaction with Blackbeard going?
I think that he's going to give that information to Blackbeard, hoping that Blackbeard is going to be super open to like taking him in, accepting him. But Blackbeard doesn't want any weaklings. So I think Blackbeard might eventually just use him and maybe throw him aside. His fruit's super handy, but he might just throw him aside and not even think his fruit's worth anything. And then that could eventually help Luffy in defeating Blackbeard down the line. You don't know, but I think Caribou's character to me is just like he seems like such a wimp, but I really do think he's gonna have an important part, kind of like Bellamy. He doesn't have important information, but Bellamy's gonna play a good role in the story eventually. Yeah, his entire character has done a 180. He's gonna come back and he's gonna help Luffy in a way, and I feel like just that just kind of shows Luffy's character trait in a way where he's super open to being friends with everybody.
Awesome, awesome. I love it. I love it. It's a great topic to talk about. I've personally forgot about him for a while. There's so many characters in Wano that it's easy to get lost. But did you guys have anything else that you wanted to say?
No, that's it. That's it. That's it. I'm convinced. I'm convinced.
Awesome. So as always, guys, thank you, Josh. That was a great job, by the way. But as always, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you think. Yeah, leave a comment below.